Every time he came, he has brought his army with him. So if you look back in history, he visits India and you have an action on the borders. And this is not once, this is twice.
Sure.
Right? So coming to India should be, anyways, we should be on our guard because he doesn't come alone. Xi Jinping has a habit of bringing trouble with him. And we should be, on alert. But, on the points that Martin and Gideon raised, I think with China, one thing we should have learned by now, I'm not sure we have, but we should all try and imbibe it, that with China, first verify, then trust. I think the notion is absolutely on its head. Don't believe any news that comes out of China, even if it is on Western liberal media. Right? I think that is the first precaution we all need to take. They know how to borrow the boat to cross the seas, and right now most media in the Western world is compromised. I'm not saying ours is not, but at least we are aware of ours being compromised. There is a virtuous belief that somehow the Chinese are not riding their ship. So I do not believe any news I read coming out of anywhere other than what we hear from folks in that country and in that city, and certainly from our folks who are present there. That's the first part. The second, I think, the news is not Chinese rebound or Chinese virus. The news is that China, more people will die than who will be born this year. And I think that is the inflection point. China is becoming a smaller country and therefore is now going to face new headwinds that they have not experienced before.
You're deriding the Western media, Ishan.
No, I'm not deriding the Western media. I am appraising them in the right manner.
Okay, Ishan, there's a lot of commentary about Xi moderating his positions on wolf warrior diplomacy, on opening up because of the manner in which China saw protests. The counter to that, the likes of Samir would say that this is just very temporary and only because of the protests and only because of the virus. Are you seeing a moderation, or do you think this is just a pragmatic Xi cutting his losses just in this moment and he'll be back to wolf warrior diplomacy the moment he's got COVID under control?
Well, I think certainly the imperatives of that come with opening up the economy and projecting a new China post-pandemic on the world stage means a recalibration. And during the pandemic, we saw a hardening of positions both in China, but obviously also certainly in the United States. And what's really struck me here in Davos is the gap between the Washington conversation on China and the Davos conversation on China. Here we're talking about the boon to the global economy. We're talking about prospects for 2023, where India is leading the G20 and where we're going to see new forms of regional collaboration and evolution. Whereas in the US, the view on China remains incredibly hawkish. There's a bipartisan consensus in Washington that is uninterested in any narrative about China opening up to the world. And whatever pivots and recalibrations you're seeing from Xi, I know there was a productive meeting between the Americans and Chinese not long ago. You're going to see a visit from Blinken to China soon. But at the same time, I think it's very hard to really give the Chinese that much credit when we've seen such a tremendous geopolitical polarization unfurl.